Welcome, everybody. In this session, we will compare what is average to weighted average. And we will address and hopefully answer the question, what grade should I get in the final in order to pass the class? Or, what grade should I get in order to get an A or a B or a C? Whatever it is, the grade that you're looking for in a particular class. I get that question often, especially towards the end of each semester. It doesn't matter which class I'm teaching. This question is asked all the time. So let's figure it out. How do we do? What calculation do we do in order to answer this question? All right, first, what is average? This I know I haven't had any issues with this when I teach my different math classes, and I know this concept is already understood. But let me go through it quickly just to confirm. From Google, average is a number expressing the central or typical value in a set of data. In particular, the mode, median, or most commonly the mean, which is calculated by dividing the sum of the values in the set by their number. What does that mean? For example, let's say we have student A that studies 7 hours, okay, and you have student B, and that student studies, let's say 6 hours a week, just to put a number, and student C that studies, let's say 8 hours in a week. And we want to get the average of these three students studying hours per week. So how do we get the average? Well, you will add all these three numbers, so 7 plus 6 plus 8, and you will divide it by the total number of students, 3. All right? So you have 6 plus 8 is 14 plus 7, so you have 21 divided by 3. And then you have that the average number of hours studied in a week by this student is 7. All right, simple enough. Now, when you have normal average, we are dividing the total of number of hours by the total number of students. So in this case, all three students have the same importance. It is divided by 3. Okay, so let's see. How is that different to weighted average? Weighted average is an average resulting from the multiplication of each component by a factor reflecting its importance. So different components have different importance. In the one we had before, each of the students, A, B, and C, had the same importance. So we just divided it by 3. If it would have been 4 students, then we would divide it by 4. If it was 5 students, we divide it by 5. All of them have the same importance. In weighted average, each component that we're trying to get an average from has a different importance, which is what we have on exams. So typically, the from the classes that I've taught, typically you have your exams, okay, and typically you have exams, and what is the weight of each exam? So typically you have exam 1, so I'm going to write here test 1, and for my classes that usually has 15% of the final grade, and you have test 2, okay, 25%, and there's usually a project, and that usually has a 30%, and then you have a final, and that final has a 30% weight on the final grade. So as you see here, each of the tests has a different importance. For example, test 1 has the least weight, 15%. So I cannot just say, let's put grades here, just to continue and put a better perspective here. Grade. So let's say for the first test, we got 80 as a grade. Test 2, we got 75. In the project, we got a 95, and in the final, 80. So I cannot just do a normal average, 80 plus 75 plus 95 plus 80 divided by 4. I cannot do that. Why can I not do that? Because each grade, each test has a different weight. For example, this 80% of test 1, this 80% of test 1 has the least importance, 15%. This 95 here and 80% are actually the ones that have the most importance, 30%. If I were to just do divided by 4, that would mean that each of these grades are 25% of the weight, which is not. That's not the case. Each different test has a different percentage. So therefore, they're different. They have different importance. So now, how do we do this? Okay, so let's see it again. So I'm going to have, let me see. So test 1, I'm sorry, just test. You see, test. Okay, test, and I'm going to put here grade, and I'm going to put here weight. Okay, so I'm going to have test 1, test 2, test 3, and just final. Okay, so now what happens with this? Let's assume for test 1 we're getting an 80%, then 75, then 80%, and 75. Okay, so now how do we do this? Let's say for test 1, that is 15% of the weight. For test 2, 25% of the weight. For test 3, 30%, and for the final, 30%. So now, when we do this math, right, 15 plus 25 plus 30 plus 30, you get your whole 100% of the grade. Now, how do we calculate the final weight? Well, this is the weighted average, and different grades have different importance. We calculate here by multiplying, and I'm going to go back, each component by the factor reflecting its importance. Okay, so what is the first component? Is 80. Okay, times, what is the factor of importance? 15%. So you can just do times 0.15, or in your calculators, you can do 15%, but don't forget to put the percentage. Okay, for the next number, it is 75 times 0.25, or again 25%, but don't forget to put the percentage. The next one is 80 times 0.3, and the last one is 75 times 0.3. So once you get all of those numbers, you add them together. So you're taking 15% of the first grade plus 25% of the second grade plus 30% of the second grade plus 30% of the final grade. All of them together, 15% plus 25% plus 30 plus 30 gives you 100% of your final grade. So now when you do this manually though, it's not easy. It is actually a little difficult to figure out, but okay, by now, let's say you got the grades for test 1 and test 2. So you're trying to figure out what you need to get in test 3 and your final to get a particular grade, final grade. So now if you do it manually, it's a little difficult to be writing different numbers here in order to calculate the final grade. So what I suggest is following this math, because there's only one way to calculate weighted average, is do it in Excel. And let me show you how to do it. It's super convenient, quick. I'll show you the formula. And in that way, you can play around with different scenarios for your own grades. And therefore, you are then in charge of, empowering yourself to get the grade that you need. All right, so let me open Excel here. And let's say, again, this is a blank Excel. I'm gonna write it here quickly, and I'm just gonna put the titles. I'll put Oops. Assessments. I'm just putting any titles. You do as you need to. So I'm gonna be here. So test 1, test 2, project. This is what typical names of each of the assessments in a semester. And then I'm gonna put here grades. Okay, and then the next one I'm gonna put weight. Okay, so weight. The test 1 is usually 15%. I'm gonna put 0.15. The second one, 25%, so 0.25. The next one is 0.3, and the next one, 0.3. So when you add them together, like if you highlight here, look in the bottom. It says sum equals to 1 or 100%. You see in the bottom? So otherwise you can do equals sum, parentheses. Highlight all of your percentages. Let me see. You highlight the whole column, close the parentheses, and that should be equal to 1. You can do it equal sum or highlight the column and look at the bottom of Excel. It usually gives you the average of the 4 items of whatever the column is. The count, how many numbers you highlighted, and then the sum. You should have equals to 1, which is 100%. Now, let's assume that we did, for the first test, we got a grade of 80. For the midterm, we got 75. For the project, we got 95. And the final, we got 85. Okay, how do we calculate this? There are a couple of simple ways to get this done. And once you do the formula, you can play around with each of your grades here to see what grade you will get. All right, so now I'm just gonna put some borders here on my table to just be a little more neat. And I'm gonna make the table a little bit bigger. I don't, here, better. Okay, so I just typed the names of the assessments, the group, some assumed grades. You use here the grades that you have gotten in your own exams, and the weight of each exam. Okay, so now let's do the calculation. So now, one very quick way to do it. I'm gonna call this I'm gonna call this final grade. Okay, and I'm gonna put that with green because that's the bottom line. That's what we're trying to do. Right here, green. Okay, so how do we do it? One way to do it is equal. So we're doing a formula. Equal, and then sum. And as soon as you start typing in Excel, a lot of formulas come in Excel to use. So we want to use the one that says sum product. See, once you click on sum product, Excel tells you what this formula does. And it says, returns the sum of the products of the corresponding ranges or arrays. All right, let's see what it is. Double click on it. Excel gives you the formula, gives you the open bracket. Now, if you see here, Excel is also telling you to put the first array. So like the first column. So I'm going to highlight from 80 to 85. So the column where it has the grades from test 1 to the final. And then Excel tells you, after you do your array, put a comma. You see there? It's telling you. You put the comma, then you put the next column. Okay, I'm going to highlight from 15%, 0.15 to 0.3. And that is it. I'm going to close the parentheses. And there you have the final grade. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Equals sum. And you want the one that says sum product. Okay, sum product, you double click on it and Excel will put the formula for you plus the open parentheses. So with this open parentheses, again, Excel is here walking you through the formula. First, you put array 1, the column 1. So highlight from 80 to 85, which are the grades that you got on your tests. And then Excel tells you need a comma. You see here, it's telling you that the comma is needed. And the next one is the second array, the second column. Put it there. Close your parentheses. and enter. So there is the formula. Sum product, open parentheses, and you highlight the column of your grades, comma, column of your weights. Now, how is this going to help you? Well, here you can play around. Let's say if in the project you get 70%, then you will get 77 on your final grade. If you get 60% on the final grade, then you will get 69. So you can change around the grades. Let's say you failed your midterm, and you see what the effects have of each of your grades for each of your tests. Yes, and because basically this formula here is multiplying 80, whatever number you have for test 1 times the weight plus whatever grade that you have on your test 2 times 20.25, the weight of the test 2, plus the grade of the project times 0.3 plus 60 or whatever grade you get on your final times your weight. Okay, and that gives you your final grade. Okay, so you can use this formula here, sum product, open parentheses, highlight the first column where the grades are, comma, highlight the columns where your weights are. And so that way, then again, this formula is linked to these columns here, and you can play around with the grades for each of your tests and even the weights. But you know, the weights of the exams are not up to you. That's decided already in each class. What is up to you are the grades that you can get. Okay, hope this helps you in answering the question, what grade should I get in order to pass the class, get an A, get a B, get a C? And I wish you the best for the finals. And I hope all of you get an A. Thank you so much. Bye.